Well,
whatever
guys,
works.
hey, I'm really excited to have our friends JC and Karen Height on the podcast. How you guys doing today?
Excellent. Super good. Excited to be with you guys.
Amazing. Great to have you guys here. And you guys recently had an amazing event in Arkansas.
That's right.
You
How
said
many
it right,
people?
Arkansas.
Arkansas.
750 attendees on a year one event. We very blessed. It was exciting.
Yeah.
Amazing.
State's biggest event now, right?
It's the biggest business conference in the state of Arkansas. We just had it. I mean, that's not a high barrier to overcome, but we made it happen.
Sometimes it pays to be a big fish in a small pond, for sure.
I'm telling you.
Amazing. Well, so cool. And JC and Karen, I know you guys have an amazing agency. For our listeners that don't know a lot about Height Digital, can you tell us about the agency? How big are you guys? What's your ICP? How do you guys serve that ICP? Give us like a little background.
Yeah. So Height as a whole, we're of course all about helping businesses scale with stability being our big word. We divide that up into 3 divisions of Height. We have our agency, which we've got about 80 employees in right now. And our focus predominantly is home service, but then we got a lot of like weird celebrity style clients as well, that have books and different things like that we work with. And so a couple different niches there. Height, we also have our education side, which is our events and mastermind, and it's all about training and developing. And then lately we've gotten a lot more into the investment side, and how do we not just help the growth, but like how do we really come in and help with people and recruiting and operations and things like that you're familiar with.
Yeah, awesome. And so like I know a lot of people, I'm sure you guys get this all the time too. And I see it in like the group chat, a lot of conversations about what's happening to the agency model. How is it shifting? How is it changing? Are we under attack or are we in a renaissance? And so you guys have a 8-figure agency. So do we. And so we're kind of in the cockpit of this experience, this transition in our model where it's responding to AI. And so today, like, why don't we start by like kind of talking about how is that transition affected Height Digital? How is it changing the agency from your guys' perspective?
Well, first off, we're not on the same side of the fence with that. I feel like I'm like on the opposite side trying to figure out what to do, and y'all are leading the way on the other side of the fence. But nonetheless, I think most agencies and how we've done it today, charging a high ticket and just fulfilling PPC, SEO, Facebook ads, building that website, I think we're in for a big amount of trouble over the next couple of years. And, if I safely say 2 to 3 years, but I mean, I read an article and was talking to like Ryan Dice and some of these guys, like, no, you wish you had 2 to 3 years. Like, this is a 12-month max type of thing. And I think it's just a matter of time. And agencies are going to have to shift and pivot just like any other industry in any given, season. Right. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting.
I think there, like we use the word trouble, and I wonder if we can like reframe that to opportunity. Because I think like if you're an agency that's listening to this, like these are the 2 perceptions, right? Of like what we're encountering and like what's the new agency model and what we're feeling that it's going to be. It's trouble if you don't feel like you want to innovate. And I think like we have 3 main questions that we need to ask ourselves as business owners right now. First, like, do I have clarity on how do I want to innovate? And like, if you don't have that clarity, I think that's where we get into the trouble, like, okay, like then this could be an issue. I think the second question is, do I even want to do this? Because I'm sure that you guys, deal with this so often with the agencies that you're supporting and just coming into contact. Some people have been doing this for a long time and they're not ready to like having to restart the baby, or just like rebuild something. I was chatting with an agency that was talking of like, this feels kind of like we're building a boat, but we're at sea, like we're like trying to like make it happen over there. So that's, like, and I think like the third thing is if we have clarity of what we need to do, and if we're willing to do it, I think the third question is like, do we have the resources and do we have the people and the training and the tools, right, to make that happen? So like for those that are listening, like don't be scared about this. I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. I like that reframe. For some people, Sophia's just going to get some water. But yeah, I think for a lot of people, we all feel it in our stomach. Like when we see the change that AI and the SaaS applications that are using it and leveraging it, we see how they're changing the status quo. And for us as business owners that run agencies, we know this is going to change something in our organization. Maybe we have clarity, maybe we don't. And so finding clarity, figuring out what's the new model look like? How do we rebuild what we're already operating and running, and building a business on top of? How do we rebuild it while we still run it, right? Essentially, it's restructuring our campaigns, rebuilding the way we do fulfillment, rebuilding the way we manage our CSMs and our CSMs meet our clients. And all of that is being reimagined and re-architected. So we're doing that right now. I'm curious, like for you guys, because we were talking about it a little bit before we got on this, how are you guys rebuilding the agency right now?
Yeah. And again, I like Karen's analogy there of we're in a boat, it's got a small hole in it. And are we repairing the boat that we're in, knowing that, it's probably not going to last long? Or are we building another one kind of out to the right? And how is that hole getting bigger or smaller? And so for us, this is ironic timing. Literally, this is fresh off the press. I had a meeting with all of our leadership this morning. My first question was, will what we do today be around in 5 years? Not agency, of course, marketing will be around, but with what we do, the answer abundantly was no. And then, okay, well, what are we doing? Like, what do we want to do? And for us, I see some people will go downstream and they'll be able to sell SaaS and software and things like this, and for an affordable price. And things like Search Atlas, right? We're going to go sell SEO. I'm going to get Search Atlas. I'm going to team up with them, and they'll make really good money. Those that want to scale, I think they got to go upstream. And that's where we're at, of going, okay, I still think there's a huge opportunity in strategy. I don't think that's going away at all. How do we help businesses actually grow? And to be frank, that's been our problem with marketing this whole time, right? Like, we've all had clients where, man, I produce a ton of leads, but they still can't sell. They still don't know how to follow up. They still don't know how to hire. They still don't, whatever the case may be. How do we get more on the consulting side? And so we're trying to gain equity in clients. I see Height being an investment firm in 5 years, and that marketing is just our platform that we do for all the companies that we invest in.
Smart. We've often discussed this internally when we look at some of our case studies for our clients, and we're like, clients paying us $5K, $10K a month, some a little more. And we look at what happened to their business after 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, and they exit for like, 10, 15, 20 million off the back of like, 100K of SEO. And we're like, man, like that was a slam dunk. You remember we had this happen with Plain Jane. It happened with so many of our clients, and it was exciting for them. But also, like, if you're really good at something, they say don't do it for free, but also maybe do it for yourself. Right. And so that's what you're talking about, JC, is like, let's buy the business. Let's focus our energy on just scaling the heck out of that. So what kind of businesses are you looking at?
I'm looking heavy in the home service world. I mean, like, we're doing a lot in the roofing industry. I don't think AI is going to take over roofing anytime soon, or unless there's a lot longer run rate. And, I look at that industry and I think it's prime for a roll up. And I've got, I'm looking at one client we made an offer on just here recently to buy 20% stake in the company. Today, they're paying us $3,500 a month, right? And we're managing pretty much all of their marketing. It's a friend, so we don't charge a ton. And we've taken them, like, when they started, less than $1 million. Now they're doing $4 million. They pay me $3,500. To your point, they're profiting like $70,000 a month. So by me owning 20%, that's $14,000 a month, right? So now all of a sudden our conversation changes, right? I could lower my portfolio by 75% and still have the same revenue, which means I can take my team, and instead of having a 1-to-10 ratio on clients or 1-to-5, now they got a 1-to-1 ratio. I can put more energy in the clients that matter the most. And so I think, these marketers are really intelligent. Our best skill is not the marketing itself. Our best skill is understanding and analyzing data. We understand that we can put up 2 ads and we can see what performs better. And we look at click rate. And then when we look at that click rate, we dig deeper and we look at the copy and we look at this and that's all of companies. You can have that same methodology on recruiting. Okay, we've hired these, what works better? These are the benefits, what works better? We're really skilled. Marketing has taught us to test everything. And we can take that into companies and I think really, really help them scale and grow.
That's awesome. We're in an interesting boat because we have an agency, LinkGraph, and we also have Search Atlas, which is our SaaS platform. And I'm really happy we have both, because the agency is the proving ground. This is where theory becomes reality and we actually apply it to grow businesses. So our SaaS platform is not theoretically, building software as a software house that we think people want. It's building the software to get results for our clients as well as for the agencies that we serve. We have, because of Search Atlas, we have over 5,000 agencies on the platform. Okay. And those 5,000 agencies manage some tens, hundreds, some thousands of end businesses. We actually use our database to go look at those businesses that are running on the holistic SEO framework inside Search Atlas. And we actually keep score. How many of these businesses are becoming case studies and how many of them are not there yet? And so when we look into our, our local SEO or Google My Business database, we see, and this is over a month ago, we saw over 4,500 case studies in that database. So that's actually a way for us to iterate on our strategy. We actually build the products for the agencies to use to create more case studies for a lot of these local businesses. But meanwhile, on the link graph side, we've made a decision. Sophie and I sat down, we said, we don't want to have more than 100 clients. We're at that point. And so when we get to the 101th client, someone's got to get fired. And it's a beautiful thing. Get the smallest client out and create space for a bigger client.
This is literally exactly what we're going through. I mean, it's so funny, exactly the conversation. Yeah, I mean, 100%. And I think that's the biggest mistake we have seen with agencies. We have done that mistake, right? We have built this whole ecosystem that's the intention. We continue to grow and we still carry some of those clients, even though we when we first started working with them, we were charging $500, and but they're a great client and they're super low. And it's amazing, they could be better served maybe by, another company or I don't know. But anyways, same conversation as well.
Yeah. And it's an important one because I think that right now in marketing, what we need to do is the answer to how SEO or Facebook or Google ads work. It's not known right now because the landscape is changing. AI is here and we're using it, but we're using it in a dynamic competition where the platforms that we're running these campaigns on are not static. They're also evolving. And so there's this change coming. It's much easier for us to understand and study that change when we basically work with big customers with big budgets and a big vantage point over the entire ecosystem and use that to really understand what gets results, what's working. When you're working with a bunch of really small clients that have smaller budgets, just kind of hard to do amazing SEO for $100. I mean,
and even more there, we're all, and I think you guys shared this as well, because a lot of your team is in Colombia, we're trying to build companies that, although we're leveraging this technology, we're also focused on the cultures that we're building, the people that we're serving through these jobs that we're creating. And how hard is it we were actually having this conversation with our leadership team. How hard is it for our team to show up to a phone call with somebody that has this tiny little budget that we're having to sell why this makes sense, but why they should be doing X, Y, Z as well, because they are not doing that, in order to grow, compared to, working with a company that's more established and focused on okay, this is just one part of all the gears that need to be turning for this marketing growth system to really work. And, it's just you can feel it, in your team is man, it doesn't matter how much I do here. There's just so much I can accomplish with this budget, this focus and the power that they have, I guess.
Yeah. And we've had to let some clients go recently. I wouldn't even say that they were our smallest clients. It was just our clients that were the most not aligned with what we want our ICP to be, with where we feel we can add the most value. And honestly, one of those that we let go was actually one of our biggest clients. But what we realized is our director of operations that we hired to run a lot of link graphs so that we could focus on Search Atlas, basically all of his time was being eaten up by this one client, right? And so he was always working in the business. He couldn't actually take a step back and work on the business. So that long list of things where it's I want to optimize this, I want to implement this, I want to do UI for it. We didn't have the capacity to do that because we were just focused on this one client. So we cut them. And I think literally within a month, we had reestablished the revenue that we had lost. It was really kind of immediate because it was okay, we can actually focus on aligning and figuring out how to bring our ICP in and doing all these things So it's like such a relief, but it's a little scary sometimes to make that.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. My message for any agency that's also going through this, and that's every agency out there, is first thing you need to do, like, turn off the lights, turn off all the sound, turn off this podcast, close your eyes, and have a vision for what it is that you want to do and how you want to serve your client. Have a vision for it and execute it. So for JC and Karen, it sounds like your vision is, we want to actually do the marketing for our own brands. We want to take more of that opportunity in-house and vertically integrate the entire system. That's beautiful, right? I love that. Our vision is no more than 100 clients, fully holistic SEO campaigns, minimum budget 10K, and we want to move it up to 20K. And we only want to work with Fortune 500 clients. And we want to do fully integrated, highly strategic campaigns where we get to take our research, our data science team, and apply it to their problems, because they've got the resources, they've got the capital, and they've got the opportunity. When it works, boom, millions and millions of dollars created. And there's no conversation about justify for me, like why I'm going to pay you $500 a month. That just doesn't exist.
Right.
Because they understand that the capitalist imperative for their business is massive. It's a huge opportunity. And so, what I like to do is, in my dynamic with these clients, it's, we're going to get you the win in the first like 2 to 3 months. And you're going to be so in the black, in the money on the engagement, that we'll work together for the next 3, 4, 5 years, because you've made so much money already on what we have to offer that there's no possibility of churn, right? There's just trust.
There's a key there, Manic. And I think that's like where, as you're going and looking at that vision, people have to really be honest with themselves. The age of being a good marketing person is going to be over. Right now, you can be good at marketing, not the best, not even great, not even like 70, and you can actually make a living. You can get 5, 10, 20, 30 clients and make 10, 20. That's going to be really tough in the future. There's not. And so you are one of the smartest SEO guys I know. And I know a lot of SEO guys. So like it makes total sense, because you're going all in on that SEO, 10 to 20 grand, the best in the world. I will get you there. For me, that's not my strong suit. Like, I think we're good at SEO. I think we're good at pay-per-click. I think we are better than 75, 80% of the world, but we're still good. Now, I think I'm really good at helping businesses scale. I've done many multi-million-dollar companies. We've hired hundreds of employees. Like, we love it. Like, I enjoy working with entrepreneurs and taking them from 30,000 to $1 million in revenue. They change their life. Like, that's what I love. And so this new model of agency where we could, again, get by with it, I think that's where it gets tough. What are you really honestly good at? And what makes you actually help those businesses scale? Okay, how do you lean heavy into that and not just making margin off of, white labeling to Nicaragua, so to speak.
Right. For sure. The interesting thing about this is, like, to some extent, you and I are both future pacing. We're looking ahead. We're talking about what will happen. Maybe it's a year, maybe it's 3 years, but I know white label SEO firms that are doing beautifully. They're doing $40, $50 million a year still, but they also know that they need to evolve. They need to change. And so, like, there's this kind of like uncertain moment that we're in right now, where some of this is, we know it's coming. And so we're preparing for what's yet to come, even though today, let's be honest, like AI and automation, you can't fully automate everything. You can't automate an AI. It doesn't exist, right? We've tried, you guys are trying, everyone else is trying. So let's talk about, like, okay, an AI renaissance. In some ways, yes, it is. In some ways, no, it's not. What's been like the biggest disappointment for you guys? We'll go to on like where you wanted to see AI succeed in the agency, where it didn't work.
Well, I think AI it's interesting. I'll let Karen answer, but I see this world. There's certain aspects where people are okay with automation and not, and then there's certain aspects that they're wanting more and more hands-on, like more and more human touch, more and more like our generation. And I think the generation below us, want that feeling. And so, I would have loved to see, we're using AI a ton when it comes to measuring our humans, but they're not replacing them in terms of how they're working with our clients by any stretch. In fact, we're trying to go the opposite way. How do we get one account manager for every 10 clients and serve them more and send them more stuff and get more attached versus the opposite. Or, historically we've had 1 to 30 ratio, for example. And we're using AI to help them accomplish more with that, but we're trying to go heavier on the touch. Man, we're using AI everywhere. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And it's hard because you hear the world and like, you hear this other joker saying like, oh, it's working. And like, is it? Like, is it really working? Or you just built something kind of cool and it's best for, I don't know. But
yeah, I think, things like how has it been disappointing? Maybe not disappointing, but just like that we want to see like more happening. I remember us chatting about the topic of client experience in Dallas, right? And how we're like being able to like understand, more of the things that are happening with the communications with our clients, getting those metrics, being able to like read that data and be able to train that. I think one of the things that, can get really hard with that is, we still need that our team, that's the part that we're still like, okay, like we're giving them the data, which is making it easier for them, but we still need the team to be able to communicate that feedback, in a way that it creates that transformation in that other individual, right? And so like we're still, like it's not necessarily a disappointment, but more of like we're still in the early stages of that, where we still need that human to be able to translate, the information that they're getting into something that can be trained on, that can be, adjusted, can be trained on for future employees as well. So I think like that would be the one thing. And I don't think necessarily on AI itself, but like on the lack of knowledge. I think like if we're, to some extent ignorant of like all the possibilities that like of the things that we can do with AI, then there's just so much, that we can take out of it. And so more disappointment probably in like just I don't know, like I think like when we see things, I'm more of a doer. So like when I see things that are like happening, like I want to make sure they work right away. And it's just more of like a challenge, of like, okay, how can we make this work? And just it's a trial and error type of thing.
Manic, on your end, when you see people, for example, social media, used to 12 months ago when people made posts, it was their own feelings and thoughts, good, bad, ugly, stupid, ignorant, whatever. It was theirs. Now, you mean like you don't know like what they could be? Hey, ChatGPT, had a bad day today, write an emotional post, my wife's hot, and boom, it like kicks out something actually interesting, and how are you when you read that stuff and like, is this from them, is it not, and like I wonder how emotionally we'll get as human beings when we start reading content from other people. It's been so much a part of our lives growing up. That's where we learned about people. That's where we got to know, who is Sophia and all this stuff. How's that going to shift and change,
Yeah. The change in like authenticity, I think like we feel it and we can see it. And I used to think that sure, like photos will be AI generated, content will be AI generated, but not video. And then here we go. We see like avatars,
We're
hyper
actually
realistic.
AI avatars right now.
That's it right now.
This is not really happening.
Monic's not actually here right now. And it's incredible to see what the technology is capable of. But I think as a society, as a community, as marketers and as just humans, like there is like this crisis of confidence happening. And I think people are moving more toward community. They're moving more toward like in reality, like real spaces with other people, because how can you trust, like even how can you trust the search results? How can you trust what you read in ChatGPT? How can you trust the ad that's running? They're just buying your click. Like, is that really the brand that I want to work with? I've seen this, and it started like 5-6 years ago, the transition where people are more buying based on the recommendations. You see the conversion rates from like affiliates and from a referral being like 50 to 60, sometimes even higher, 70%. Whereas like from an ad, it's like, 5 to 10%. And so that shows you everything you need to know right there. Like there's a big difference between what we see on social media and what we see in search, and then what we believe from the people we trust and we know and we like. And so I think all marketers should have that like community orientation where let's think about our brand, not just in the context of, okay, here's Google, here's Meta, here's whatever other channels, but here's the community that we're interfacing with and we're serving, and here's how we're empowering them beyond just the marketing stuff, the marketing technicality in the real world. And I know you guys that's, I mean, you guys have been doing that for a long time too. Just building that in-person feeling with people and building community. And it's so powerful.
Yeah, and we're going heavier into that. I mean, with the Scale with Stability Summit, like our plan was to build a model that can we scale this throughout the US and like literally have a tour that every year we go across the US and, you know, have 8, 9, 10 Scale with Stability Summits happening, because I believe that connection is going to be something that is going to be a great investment over the next 10 years. So.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity because I think AI, it pretty much is leveling the playing field in so many different ways. Like now, it doesn't matter if you're a good writer or a bad writer. You can write email copy, you can write an entire series. Like everything is kind of being leveled. So when that happens, how do you actually stand out, right? And so I think personal brand is a big piece of that. And as Monica's mentioned as well, like having a framework, like having a brand, something unique that you can bring to the table, because everyone's going to be able to do all the busy work, you know, in minutes.
Yeah, that's right.
And I wonder if we are even going to decrease our abilities. You know, like it's kind of like when COVID was happening and we went back into like the real life and like social interaction was so awkward. You didn't know if you could hug people or like whatnot. So like socially, we got really just like awkward. We kind of like went back. I wonder if like AI and all this stuff that's happening is like, are people going to be able to show up and like, you know, if you're doing a video and like you're super well spoken because your AI, you know, it's just amazing. But then like you go into a stage, like, you know, those opportunities and like how do you communicate? How do you have those interpersonal relationships as well? I think that's probably like too deep into like this black hole. But I also can see, you know, like introverts like me, like, oh my goodness, like let's take advantage of this opportunity. And we're not, you know, exercising those muscles that could help us create better brands, more impactful brands, right? And so I don't know, something to figure out, I guess.
I think about that a lot too, just with our daughter. Like she's 3, so she goes, you know, part-time to school, but like how much is the education system even going to change, you know? Just it's kind of the same rabbit hole.
Yeah. I agree.
You know, there's one really cool thing though, which is that like we haven't seen how all this plays out yet. And on social media, when we know that this is not a real post, it's AI, that post gets fewer likes, fewer comments. When we feel like this person's not authentic, I've been seeing an AI avatar of them more than their real life. Like we vote with our likes, we vote with our clicks. And these ecosystems are going to respond. Like Facebook will respond, and Google is responding to this as well. My friend Ross, actually from Seer Interactive, he had this awesome talk he gave recently that I saw, where he talked about what does it take to win on Google, and do I want to play? So he focuses on a lot of like e-com businesses, and so he went, did a couple searches, clicked on the sites that are ranking, and then just looked at them. And the sites that are ranking the best, it was like a product page, and at the bottom, a bunch of just shit content. AI, very clearly artificial content just stuck in and jammed at the bottom of the page. And he was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to play that game where I'm creating crap on the internet. He doesn't want to participate in that. So he just flat out refuses to pump spam out on the internet and says, like, if this is what it takes to win, then I'm going to focus on a different channel that's not so easily manipulated, where there is authenticity. And I saw that and I was like, bravo. Like I think we've all been thinking that to some extent, which is like, why are we doing that? Even though it works, like this isn't right. And in time, I'm confident that the search engines will evolve. They will see that, they will catch it. The algorithms will become more advanced, and authenticity will find a way to get rewarded again. That's sort of the North Star. And it may not happen tomorrow, but it will happen in time. And so we have to keep playing and seeing how the frameworks have to evolve. Whatever our prompts are, whatever our fine tuning is, whatever our approach is, our framework for fulfillment at the agency, that framework needs to be constantly retested. Not like, you know, once a year, but every single month we have to verify that we're still getting those case studies and that we're still doing our testing to make sure what we're doing is impactful, because we're playing in a dynamic, competitive landscape.
Yeah. Yeah. I even had some trouble there with just like there for a while with height, when we started really thinking about not scaling and growing. Like that was my identity, was all in that, the agency, like growing the agency, all this good stuff. And so, yeah, we got to reframe, we got to relook, we got to be not afraid to back up, not afraid to go down the mountain to climb up a taller one. And we got to be the leaders that can get us through this. You don't want to be the blockbuster. You don't want to be the, what was it, the BlackBerry. You don't want to be those guys. I don't want to be GM. I want to be Tesla.
Yeah.
And you guys
Is
are
it now, or is it Porsche? Is it?
I don't know.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It's Porsche for you.
But we were a Tesla family, but I've given away now all of our Teslas, one to her mom and the other to our cleaning lady. Yeah, I would say probably Porsche now.
So you put your cleaning lady and her mom on the same, you got them both the same gift?
You know
Come
what?
on now, man. You need to get your mother-in-law, you need to get her a Porsche, at least a Porsche.
Good point.
I'm working on it, man. It's
Let's
you
get
know,
this on camera.
we're just a couple Colombian farmers over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of a sudden.
Got your donkeys. I love it. But it's exciting. Like this is the moment. And if it's not been working for you, again, like if you struggle with growth, like now is your moment. Because those guys that are smaller, it's a lot easier to turn a small boat around than a big ship. Like me, I've got 85 employees I'm thinking about. I'm like, crap, like how do I shift them all? What do I do? And so the advantage right now is in these small agencies that can pivot a lot quicker and ramp up, I think. And so I think it should be encouraging for folks right now.
I agree. I actually feel like this is the most exciting time in my career as a marketer, where I feel like there's more opportunity, not less. Even though SEO search may be getting harder, PPC might be getting harder, CPCs are going up, like all these channels, more congested, more challenging. But I still feel like it's a renaissance. It's the best time ever to be in the game, because all these other guys, these agencies that have been established like us for years and years, our moat is a lot more shallow than it used to be, because new guys can come in. If they're smart, they're using the right tools, they have the right frame, they have the right framework, systems, process, they can explode. Like I've seen, like Eric Caldwell, for example, let's shout him out. Eric, he scaled his agency. He's using Search Atlas. He's a one-man band, still one-man band, scaled it to over 55 clients, grew over 30%. Doing over $1 million a year now as a one guy agency. Wow. And I can, same thing with Don, like there's so many people that are doing that. And so now, like, you see how fast some of these smaller agencies are growing. They're growing faster than the big agencies from what I'm seeing, because the big agencies, like you said, there's that inertia. It takes us time to be able to get the team trained and implement and test things out. And we have we're kind of comfortable in some ways where we don't want to make those changes.
That's right. 100%. We don't like to go back to the grind. I'm with you. I feel it. 100%. So
let's shift gears a little bit to something a little more personal. Because obviously this is unique, right? Husband and wife team. So this is a pretty unique situation and dynamic. I know a lot of other agency owners that are also husband and wife teams that have done really well. For you guys, like how have you guys been able to navigate the hills and valleys of working together?
Well, she's Latin and mean, and she has a handle that she hits me with at night.
Oh,
and,
whatever.
If you were telling the truth, it would be a chancla.
Exactly.
That's right. That's it. I mean, that's we have, I think, first off, the world sees us having, smiles and we're excited and all this, but we have really tough times just like everyone else. And I think for us, it's always been like, okay, how do we learn from those tough times and get through them? And we've learned things that like work really well for us. And then things that, okay, this didn't work. Okay. How do we refrain? And so, some of the things in communication. So I think maybe we're swapped. I'm like the big dreamer, relational, She's the detailed person. She wants to like find and so whenever I come up with this big idea or something, hey babe, like I have this idea, her immediate thought is, well, how are we going to make this work? Well, what's it happen? Well, here's the problem. And here's the, like, babe, I'm dreaming, and it gets annoying. So we have to be clear. Hey, I'm just dreaming here. Just listen. I don't need the like fact checking if this is going to work, right? And so we've also learned that, you know, she's the CEO of her projects and I'm the CEO of my projects. And she's my assistant on mine and I'm her assistant on hers, right? And so because it got really difficult when we were both leading the same projects, right? And so
yeah, and I think especially, you know, because I'm assuming that happens to you guys as well. Like things don't end at 4 p.m., 5 p.m. when, you know, when you clock out of like the business. Like we were running into like conversations about work, you know, at dinner time. And so I think and the world tells you also like you have to separate things. So we struggle with that as well of like, okay, are we doing wrong by talking about this? And I think we all, like as marriages, we all just need to find the thing that works for us and for our family. We all raise kids in a different way, maybe in a similar way, I don't know. But just like whatever works for your family and makes and takes care of like whatever goals you have for your family as well, right? Like the values that you want to have and like the things that you want to shoot for. I think that has been probably the biggest, not challenge, but just like having to figure out who we are as a marriage in business and outside of business too, right? And so how does things complement? Yeah.
are y'all perfect in y'all's? Y'all never fight? Nothing ever.
Perfect. No, definitely not. But I think sometimes people are like, oh my God, like, how do you work with your husband? Like, I could never work with my husband. Like, that's something that I hear a lot. And for us, I think it's kind of the opposite. Like, we had a taste of what it was like not working together after Ruby was born. I just wasn't really involved with the company. Over a year, I took that time off just to be with Ruby, and I didn't want to have to like kind of do that mental switch. And honestly, it was really hard on our relationship because it was like, what do we talk about? Like, he was working on his projects and I was working on my project, which was Ruby. And like, there was some overlap, obviously, but there was, you know, then he comes home and he starts telling me about work. And I'm just like, oh, like, I don't want to hear about this. It's so hypothetical and there's nothing I can do about it. So it kind of put some distance. And then once we started working together again, it was like, okay, like, of course there are moments. And like you said, I think the more sort of like there's plenty to divide and conquer on, right? It's not like we're like, oh, we have one little thing to do. Like we can share this. We can co-chair this initiative. We have a million different initiatives. So when we kind of divide and conquer, I think that's when things feel the smoothest.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that? Or
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like what you guys said was exactly like the way we approach it. She's sort of the CEO of her projects and I'm the CEO of mine. Rather than two people trying to drive the car with the same wheel, we realized it was just way more effective for each of us to just get autonomy in our respective domains. So that's worked really well. And I think the other thing that's been really helpful is we get to lean on each other because because obviously growing a business for us, it's not a straight line, or I guess that way, straight line. It's, you know, you get these peaks, you get these plateaus.
Yeah.
You can actually see it. When Ruby was born, there was like a plateau, company stopped growing, and then Sophia came back into the organization, and explosion. So it's funny how like the personal story, the personal side of the company from the leadership perspective, how you see it, and it's so there. For us, we spent a lot of time talking about how do we continue to grow and evolve ourselves together and individually so that we can be stronger leaders and be better visionaries and become more capable. Because like one of the most true things I've learned to be very much the case in our experiences, the company only grows to the level that we're at. Right? We don't keep growing, the company doesn't keep growing either. So we have to always keep pushing that forward as best we can. And we're still figuring it out. You know, I think we're getting better. We're better today than we were yesterday, than we were a year ago, for sure.
Law of the lid. I think it's a secret weapon though. I mean, like if you can do it, I mean, they're just like, I mean, I have a great COO. I have two great COOs in two different companies. They're incredible, but they don't know me to the depth that my wife does, right? Like they don't get how I go home at night with anxiety sometimes. And then sometimes I go home and how that all works together. They don't see that stuff. They don't see but like when you have a partner that literally sees everything, I mean, knows my doctor schedule to know like everything, it's this ridiculous advantage. There's nothing I can hide from my wife. I mean, at least the way we operate, there's nothing I can hide. I don't have any time to myself. Like our bathroom's not even locked. Like they're just like everything, you know? And so, but with any team member, any partner, they're only going to see that portion. And so if you make that work, I think probably for both of us, like it is a ridiculous advantage. And I think it's what driven. I mean, I don't think we would even be a fraction of what we are today if Karen didn't join the company and was right there. And so she's like really close with a lot of team members and has allowed me as like, we've kind of swapped spots actually. Like I used to be the more outgoing and like fun and and now like Karen is, and I'm more reserved, actually with people. Cause I went through a couple partnerships that I felt like I got burned on, and it just like, made me closen up a little bit. And so, so we doubled the relationships with the team. We doubled the relationship with partners. We always, who's the best person to build a relationship with Sophia? Like, is it you or is it me? Okay, I'll take care of that one. Like it allows us to do double the energy, double the effort, double everything. So
well, there's just like people that will connect with him and people that will connect with me.
Very
and like
few.
so we're
They
able
connect
to
with me.
just navigate things and get different perspectives. And I think that's the beauty of like having a team, right? Like we can just like work together on our strengths and weaknesses and just make it even better.
I'm everyone's favorite until they meet Karen. And
that is true. That is true.
Sounds about right.
This is how it works.
Me too.
I've come to terms with it. I don't even hate it anymore. So.
One of the interesting things that I've kind of like realized is having Sophia with me as we build this. When I meet people and they meet me and they meet her, I feel like they get a different level of understanding of who we are as people, as a family.
That's so true.
Goes just beyond just like the business level, like 2D, and it's way more 3D. I think they get a better sense of our values and who I am and why, why what we're doing has purpose. And so that's like another layer of benefit where I just feel like it's also helped us build stronger relationships with people.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. When people are like, how did you get a wife that hot? Like, they're like, you must either have money or be smart or something, and I'm like, yeah, exactly. So when they see her, it just elevates what I do,
Nice humble brag there. You guys have any rules like about like no business at the dinner table? Like don't like turn it off. Do you guys do that?
It'd be better if we said yes. We don't have any rules like that. We have some like things we attempt to live by, but to be honest, like we love what we do. And like, I'm super excited for my kids to be a part of it. And we make decisions and we talk about failures, and her mother lives with us and her sister lives with us. And like, we don't have any of those probably healthy rules that some y'all probably, do y'all have those?
No, we don't. We don't have any rules.
No hard and fast rules, but I think like we also sort of react to how things have, like if there's been a really intense week and we've been, in it like late nights and we're talking a lot about work, we feel like we haven't given enough space to the relationship and the family, we'll like call it out and just be like, hey, like let's try to shift gears out of work mode and like focus on else.
100%.
I think for me, one thing that I did have to like work on was that, like I would be like making dinner or something, and then like this idea will pop up, or like this like question on a problem, like because we're all super busy, right? Like we all have our like areas of focus. And so if it's like after like 5 o'clock and it can wait, like I mentally need to I just like write it down and then I touch it on this next day, because I have like, I remember even one time that I was like, I have this question and it just came out of my mouth. And it was like a question that was going to generate this anxiety. He literally stood up from the table and like went to the computer to like start working on the thing, because like it just like activated that. Right. So like I felt so bad after it, because like it could have waited, and I just like put him in that mind space, that I didn't. So being cautious, I think, of like each other's, bandwidth and like, just like health as well. I think like that is something that I've had to work on, and instead of like my knee-jerk reaction of like wanting to solve everything right away.
I'm probably better at it actually than Karen.
Like
I don't take my computer home. It stays at the office.
I could work at night and like I am good.
But it's rooted. I am by nature a very lazy person. I will put off until like day before the event to do it. Karen's not.
It drives me crazy.
She made all the A's. She
rubbed off on you over the years. Has she rubbed off on you over the years? Like I feel like I really.
No, I am
changed a lot in this relationship. Like I'm by nature very type B. like laid back, kind of easygoing. And then just by nature of like being with Monic for so many years and like learning from him, I've become very type A. But also being type A is like the path to success, I think, running companies. So,
Yeah.
you know, if you're
Well,
going to play.
and there's certain things I'm very type A on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like I make sure my team gets their junk done, but I'm also, I don't know,
it depends on the area of life.
If I knew,
yeah,
and I'm gonna say something I shouldn't. People are gonna think
don't
different
do
of me.
it. Just record it.
Never mind. You know,
be the clip, the major clip from the thing.
I was the type of guy in college that I calculated what I needed to do to get a C because I knew that's all I needed to graduate, and I was going to get the same diploma as everything else. And I was perfectly fine with
harder,
that.
Not harder.
I worked full time in college. I did what I needed to on my career, and it worked super well. I'm the same thing in business, right? If I think I'm going to get just as much out doing a C as an A, I will do a C. Karen's the opposite. She wants A on everything. It doesn't matter if the teacher is like, this is even going to count to your grade. She wants an A. And so it isn't, And so, but these things are like what makes us really great. Yeah. But they also can create a lot of conflict. And so we have later in our marriage and having marriage classes and things like that have just become aware of them. We try to be aware when there's something frustrated. We try to be aware of like, do I feel Karen is feeling something, or do I know Karen thinks something? And there's a very big difference, and trying to like understand. And so we get hopefully a little bit more wise as we get older in certain areas. And anyway.
Yeah, I do feel like the two biggest places in life that like you'll be pushed is in your personal relationship and in running a company or in your work. And so putting them both together, it's a very big opportunity for growth for sure, because there's so many triggers for both of us.
And add events to that, because I feel like normal business day to day, it's like already like adding events to that, and running events has been like the next layer, I think.
Like Scale Stability was an $850,000 event, and like you sign up for everything ahead of time, right? You have to lock in the speakers, lock in the flute, lock in the venue, lock in everything before you ever sell a ticket, right? I can't sell tickets and say, I hope Damon John comes, and so, those things create a lot of stress. And no, it's, I waited to the last minute to sell tickets, and Karen, but it compounds one way or the other. It's either going to be the best thing you could ever do for your marriage, or it'll be the worst, I think. And so those that are listening have to be patient with that. And I think even if your wife doesn't work with you in the business, I think there's so many opportunities to leverage that person in the business that people don't take advantage of. I see a lot of my friends that the wife knows nothing. And I find, man, that's interesting. That you're not using her in some way, shape, form, or fashion, but and also wife.
Yeah. JC, you also mentioned one thing that we also do is we have a coach, and obviously, like, we can always improve. And one thing that really helps us communicate better and work together better, given we're building life together and we also have business that we're building together, is just being able to communicate better. Like you mentioned, does Karen think this? Do I know that she thinks this? Is just absolutely sure that it's true? That's
a big thing for us.
That's that book.
The kids book?
No, not the kids book. I have to remember her name, but it's The Work. Yeah, it's called The Work by.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember her name?
I forgot her name.
Well, anyways, it's basically, do I know this to be true? Can I absolutely be sure that it's true, or could the opposite be true? And so some of these frames are like really powerful. And like when we examine like our subconscious beliefs and the way that we show up, doing that work has been great for us. It's like built us a better marriage, as well as made us like a better leader, both better leaders for the team. So I highly recommend that if anyone, husband and wife team working together, get a coach, get a therapist, get someone you trust, you like talking to, who can help you just feel like you're getting better at the way you show up with each other at work. That was huge for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful. Love it.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Well, guys, this has been awesome. Thank you guys for jumping on with us and really covering all the bases. Wish you guys tons of luck with the agency. We'll be in touch. We'll keep talking about what you guys are doing on the ASN, because I'm super curious on how some of your pilots are going with some of the places that you're inserting AI into the agency. And I'll see you guys at the commitment sign.
Let's do it.
Absolutely. Let's do
Awesome.
it. Thank you guys so much for inviting us. Always a pleasure talking to you guys.
It's so nice chatting. Thank you.